This episode is brought to you by the Kirtland Partnership Committee. For 30 years, they've been dedicated to supporting, growing, and preserving the Kirtland National Security Complex. They work tirelessly to enhance military readiness, foster community partnerships, improve quality of life, and promote economic development right here in New Mexico. Join their mission to ensure that Kirtland remains a cornerstone of national security and a key provider of quality jobs and investment for all of Greater Albuquerque. Together, we can make a powerful impact. Kirtland Partnership Committee, proudly shaping the future of our national security for 30 years. President Donald Trump's plans for immigration crackdown and possible mass deportations could be headed for a clash with immigrant-friendly policies here in New Mexico. With more on that story, I'm joined by Albuquerque Journal reporter Matthew Rozanna, who breaks down the latest for us. And the New Mexico Supreme Court ruled unanimously Thursday in favor of a former APS student who sued the district and her teacher after she was allegedly called a, quote, bloody Indian on Halloween in 2018. Albuquerque Journal Education Reporter Kevin Opshal has been following the case and the ruling and stops by the show to share the latest. Plus, actress Demi Moore received her first Academy Award nomination for Best Actress for her role in the body horror film The Substance. Albuquerque Journal Arts and Entertainment editor Rozanna Martinez stops by the show to talk about the film and Moore's chances to win the award. It's Friday, January 24th, 2025. I'm Gino Gutierrez, and I'll have more on those stories in a few moments, plus a look at the Journal's other headlines and Albuquerque's weather forecast, coming up on the leading news. President Trump's plans for an immigration crackdown and possible mass deportations could be headed for a clash with immigrant-friendly policies here in New Mexico. With more on this, I'm now joined by Albuquerque Journal reporter Matthew Rozanna, who's been following this issue. Matt, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Gino.
So Matt, we laid it out at the top, but how exactly will New Mexico's immigrant-friendly policies clash with what President Trump is trying to accomplish?
So to be clear, this isn't something that's in every county and every city, but basically the biggest cities and some of the most populous counties from the southern border all the way to the northern mountains have policies that basically make it to where you do not document immigration status and you also do not assist federal agencies, which, if you're trying to send federal agencies to do a crackdown, is going to prove difficult.
And local leaders here in New Mexico wasted no time, Matt, with their reaction to what President Trump's administration is trying to do when it comes to these mass deportations.
Yes, yeah, and in no soft terms either for some of them. You know, some agencies do seem like they're kind of taking a wait and see approach, but other people, such as District Attorney Sam Bregman, basically put a quote out saying, "I will not enforce immigration laws in my city." Like he said, like, I will arrest criminals who are committing crimes, property crimes, violent crimes, but we're not going after immigrants just for being here.
And Matt, you touched on it earlier about how there's local, county, state policies on immigration. Can you expand on that a little bit more?
So the policies basically, I mean, they're kind of across the board. It's like there's different, like some of them are tailored more, like one's like, you know, you do not give ICE agents access to a school. But in Santa Fe, they can have access if there's a warrant. In Albuquerque, the policy states they cannot have access at any time. So the policies kind of differ here and there on the structure of them and how much they prevent. But I would say all of them hinder in some way federal enforcement.
So Matt, this kind of really begs the question, when you have policies at a local, county, and state level, which one takes precedent? For example, like you mentioned, if an ICE agent shows up at a school in Santa Fe, what policy do they adhere to?
So actually, the City of Santa Fe Public Schools has its own policy. The City of Santa Fe has its own policy. So it's all very much divided, and it really depends on where you're at. So if they go to the school, it's on the school. If they're out in the city, it's the city, and so on and so forth.
So it's a big when and where type of situation then.
Yes, and it's also like very specific. So I mean, like there could be like a school in one area and then a school in the next county over that totally different, you know, policies, basically.
And Matt, there's a lot of fear among the immigrant community as well over these deportations.
There is. I mean, in fact, if you go on Facebook right now, there's several posts of people basically saying like ICE is in the South Valley, ICE is in, I think they were saying at UNM hospital. So there's a lot of this kind of hysteria, and it's unclear what's real and what's not, obviously, on social media. But what is apparent is there is a real fear happening in the community.
And criminal justice leaders are arguing, Matt, that fear over deportation could lead to other problems as well, like crimes going unreported and offenders going unpunished.
Yeah, I mean, both Harold Medina and Sam Bregman basically kind of said, like, we know crime in this city. Immigrants are not driving the majority of crime in this city. And also, if we start threatening deportation, they're going to stop telling us when their husband beats them or when they witness a murder or some other kind of crime. Like, they're not going to want to come forward. And as crime fighters, they want people coming forward.
So New Mexico leaders saying that President Trump's deportation policy faces an uphill battle here in New Mexico. Albuquerque Journal reporter Matthew Risen with the latest. Thanks so much, Matt.
Thanks for having me.
The New Mexico Supreme Court unanimously ruled on Thursday in favor of former Albuquerque Public Schools student Mackenzie Johnson, who sued the district and her teacher Mary Jane Easton after Easton allegedly called her a, quote, bloody Indian on Halloween in 2018. With more on this case and what this ruling means, I'm now joined by Albuquerque Journal Education Reporter Kevin Opshal. Kevin, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Gino.
So Kevin, what does this ruling from the New Mexico Supreme Court mean?
It means that Johnson and her attorneys can either refile the case again in Second District Court against Albuquerque Public Schools, as they did in 2020, or the parties can come together and hash out a resolution which would have to be approved by a judge. Johnson's attorney, Leon Howard of the American Civil Liberties Union of New Mexico, told me that factors such as the legislative session might slow down the case's progress, but he hopes to be in touch with the district soon.
And Kevin, we touched on it at the top of this interview, but can you provide a little bit more detail on what exactly happened to Johnson and why she ended up suing the district and her teacher?
Yes, well, Johnson, who's now 23, was 16 years old at the time she was at Cibola High School, and her teacher, Mary Jane Easton, and the other students were all dressed up in costumes per the spirit of the day. And when Easton played a game, asking students questions and rewarding them with candy or dog food, depending on how they answered, she went up to Johnson and called her, asked if she was dressed as a bloody Indian, and Easton also cut off a portion of the hair of another Native American student without her consent. And this all led Johnson to file the lawsuit in 2020, alleging that Easton created a hostile learning environment and that APS failed to properly train their teachers.
And I'm curious, Kevin, what's been the reactions to this ruling?
Well, it comes on several fronts. I spoke with Johnson virtually, and she said she was in tears when she learned about the news after her attorney told her. She said she was almost sort of giggling in disbelief. APS spokesperson Martin Salazar said that the district disagreed with the ruling, but they accepted it.
And Kevin, why does APS disagree with the ruling?
Well, APS spokesperson Martin Salazar said that the decision from the court improperly expands existing law, bypasses the legislature, and overturns the court's own legal precedent.
And Kevin, with a landmark ruling like this, I'm curious, what will be the broader significance of it?
So the court examined the state's Human Rights Act and whether it applied to public schools. The court ruled that it did, since they believe the legislature always intended to protect public school students, including Native Americans. Since the HRA now applies to public schools and universities, it provides broader protections for students who are facing discrimination, and it opens the door to places like UNM and APS being sued for discrimination in state court.
So a very significant ruling brought down by the New Mexico Supreme Court. Albuquerque Journal Education reporter Kevin Opshal breaking it down for us. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you, Gino.
If you like hearing all of the latest news from the Albuquerque Journal here on the Leading News, consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal. You can check our show notes for a discount code on a digital subscription and keep up with all the latest news from New Mexico's leading news source. Actress and Roswell native Demi Moore has received her first Academy Award nomination for Best Actress for her role in the body horror film The Substance. This follows her Golden Globe win earlier this month. With more on this story, I'm now joined by Journal Arts and Entertainment editor Rozanna Martinez. Thank you so much for being here, Rozanna.
Absolutely.
So, Rozanna, Demi Moore is on quite a roll. After winning the Golden Globe, now with her first Academy Award nomination of her career.
Yes, it is a first in her career, and she sounds very excited about that. She issued a statement this morning saying that it's beyond her wildest dreams being nominated for an Oscar for the first time.
And the remarkable thing about this, Rozanna, is that this is her first nomination this deep into her career.
It is. Her career started in the 1980s. She grew up in Roswell during her teen years, and she moved out to Los Angeles, where her career began in the 1980s, and then it just went on from there. She went on to star in some film favorites like St. Elmo's Fire, Ghost, A Few Good Men, Indecent Proposal, The Scarlet Letter, G.I. Jane. And, she was paid $12.5 million just to star in the 1996 movie Striptease.
And that is quite the impressive film catalog for any actor or actress, Rozanna. But this latest film that she's nominated for, The Substance, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, absolutely. The film was written, directed, and co-edited and co-produced by Coralie Farge. And so it does star Moore, and she plays a fading celebrity named Elizabeth Sparkle, who's been fired due to her age by her producer, who's played by Dennis Quaid. She uses a black market drug that creates a much younger version of herself, and that character is played by Margaret Qualley. And this drug creates some unexpected side effects.
And you mentioned it earlier, Rozanna, this film was really a departure from Moore's previous catalog and work.
It really is. It really is. But this is, I guess what's going to catapult her later in her life. And it's incredible that she hasn't received, such recognition for her past films, because she's done some really great work, including G.I. Jane and A Few Good Men and Ghost, that are very memorable in a lot of people's memories.
So Moore obviously looking to keep the winning ways going here, Rozanna, but she's facing some stiff competition for the Best Actress award this year.
She sure is. She's going up against Cynthia Erivo, who's best known for her role in Wicked. She's also facing Carla Sofia Gascon, who's up for the Emilia Perez movie, Mikey Madison for Honora, and Fernanda Torres, who actually took home the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Drama Motion Picture for the film I'm Still Here.
But Rozanna, a Golden Globe win going into the Oscars usually means your chances of winning the award are pretty good.
It does. And so this makes Moore quite the strong contender, and she's kind of the favorite to win this Oscar.
So we'll see if Moore can continue the winning ways in this late career resurgence and capture the Best Actress award when the Oscars air on March 2nd. Albuquerque Journal Arts and Entertainment editor Rozanna Martinez with the latest. Thank you so much, Rozanna.
Thank you.
In other headlines from the newsroom, federal agents raided a cannabis farm outside Estancia, New Mexico on Thursday, targeting Dene Benali, a controversial figure previously accused of forced labor and operating illegal cannabis farms. Benali, who owns Naihuka Dene Earthly People's Church and leases nearby facilities, now faces charges of conspiracy, manufacturing and possessing over 1,000 kilograms of marijuana with intent to distribute, and running a drug-involved premise. The operation involved multiple agencies including the FBI, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, and New Mexico State Police. While authorities declined to share details, the case builds on Benali's history of legal troubles. In 2020, Farmington police discovered 2,000 pounds of marijuana at a motel linked to Benali, where Chinese immigrants were illegally held to process cannabis. Later that year, federal authorities seized 250,000 plants from his facility near Shiprock. Workers from his farm filed a lawsuit in 2023 alleging forced labor. Benali's operations also ran afoul of Navajo Nation law, leading to charges in 2024 for illegally growing marijuana on tribal land. Benali also recently sued New Mexico officials, claiming the revocation of his cannabis license violated his religious rights as a Native American. While the federal government moves to eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, New Mexico is expanding its support with new grants. The Economic Development Department's Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Office awarded $50,000 in grants to 5 organizations helping underserved businesses and communities. Recipients include the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber of Commerce, Downtown ABQ Main Street Initiative, and others focused on mentorship, migrant support, and food access. State officials reaffirmed their commitments to these initiatives despite federal changes. And in sports news, New Mexico combat sports standout Jess Martinez is stepping into a whole new arena. The former wrestling champion and undefeated MMA fighter will make his professional Muay Thai debut on Saturday, facing Texas's Parker Bruno at Expo New Mexico's Manuel Lujan Exhibition Hall. Martinez's resume speaks for itself: four-time New Mexico prep wrestling champion, undefeated as a high school senior, and a dominant presence in MMA. His passion for martial arts began as a child in Cleveland, where he turned to training after experiencing bullying. Since moving to Santa Fe in 2000, he trained with some of New Mexico's best, including UFC veteran Donald Cowboy Cerrone. It's been nearly 5 years since Martinez fought in front of a home crowd. After multiple canceled bouts due to COVID-19 and injuries, he's ready to put on a show. Martinez did acknowledge his opponent's Muay Thai experience, but welcomes the challenge, emphasizing New Mexico's deep combat sports talent. Looking for something to do today? Community Art Studio is happening at Maine Public Library from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Sci-Fi Fantasy Friday Flash Gordon edition is happening at the South Broadway Public Library from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Now taking a look at Albuquerque's weather forecast. Today you can expect sunny skies with a high near 45, and this evening increasing clouds with a low around 18. To keep up with all the latest news from the Albuquerque Journal, you can visit our website at abqjournal.com. For the leading news, I'm Gino Gutierrez.